Hey, good people, Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. This is the end of 2024. 8 hours from now, it will be 2025. It'll be a new year and new challenges and things like that, and hopefully everybody survived 2024 in good shape and are ready to take on the challenges of 2025. And this season has been extremely trying for all of us Cowboy fans. The thing that's funny is that lost in all of this, that people forget that these guys are humans, that, the coaches and the players, that they have feelings and they're doing a near impossible task that, mere mortals just can't do. And this has to be one of the saddest press conferences, tearjerkers that I've seen in a long time. And it feels like right now with the Cowboys coaching staff that this is the long kiss goodbye. When you hear Mike Zimmer being asked about coming back and he says, it's about being wanted. And that's something that the Cowboys don't do with people. They literally make you feel like, we're doing you a favor by giving you a job, or you're here, like when literally you have Stephen Jones basically say you should take less money because you can make more monies because of endorsements. So wait a minute. I'm going to have to work harder to make up for what you should be paying me. Do I have that right? That's the mentality that the Joneses have. But I want to listen to the totality of Mike Zimmer, because this may be the last time we hear from him as the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And when you hear the reasons why he came back to coaching, he's 68 years old. It's past retirement age. He could have stayed home, but he did this for his son.
Be perfect. All right, fire away.
Mike, even more Dallas Morning News. We've had Mike McCarthy throughout the year about being in the final year of a deal and just dealing with that. You're in the same situation along with everyone else on the staff, just dealing with that, getting close to having a resolution on that, just your feelings on going into this final week and your contract status.
No feelings, really. I mean, this isn't the first time for me that this has happened. I think two other times maybe, but people in the real world do this all the time. They don't have long-term contracts, so I honestly don't think it's a big deal.
Todd?
All right, are you done?
There's some water right there.
Mike, Todd Archer with ESPN. When you looked at the run defense yesterday, was that just a case of them wearing on you guys as the game went on, you think?
Well, I felt like in the first half we did some things pretty well. The big play right before the halftime kind of took a little wind out of our sails, and then what it looked like to me during the game and again this morning when I watched the tape was, guys were trying to make a play. I'm going to go make a play, so I'm going to do this instead of kind of doing what they've been doing for the last 7 weeks, and kind of reverted back to some of the old things that happened, and really, when things go bad, sometimes that happens. Well, I'm going to go make a play. I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that, instead of just letting the plays come to them and doing what they're supposed to do. But so I think that's what really happened in the second half. Guys started freelancing a little bit, I guess is the best way to say it.
And when you came in, there was obviously a lot of discussion about the relationship you would have with Micah. How would you describe how that's developed over the course of the year, and how do you think everything's gone with him?
Good. I think it's been good. We talk a lot. I correct him when he's wrong. he tries not to be wrong very much in his eyes, but no, it's been good.
Saad Yusuf, The Athletic. Mike, sticking with Micah, just, he's half a sack away from 10. He's talked about that's a threshold he wants to get to. Assuming he does play in the final game, just how much does that mean for a defender to get to something like that consistently?
Yeah, well, I think, all the things that he's done, the 50 sacks, in 4 years, I guess it is, that's pretty impressive. So, and we didn't do enough to allow us to rush the passer yesterday. I guess yesterday, right? They had a good scheme that will get corrected here on one of the things. We knew they were going to turn the protection to Micah, but the ball came out quick a lot of times, and we didn't do a good enough job covering on the outside to make him hold the ball enough to get there. So, but we'll do better.
In week 4, when you had Andrew Booth in and he got picked on, you were able to go to Amani. I know the list of corners that you've lost has gone really long. Just is it kind of a helpless feeling at this point in the season when Butler, Diggs, Awarie, all those, Carson are all out, and you have a situation where he was getting picked on again?
Yeah, and it kind of gets to the point where, do you try and get the run stopped? Do you try to protect him? You're just trying to put fingers in, not necessarily him, but whoever. You're trying to put fingers in the dike, and, you guess wrong sometimes.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. You've been around a long time, obviously a head coach. Even though your status is uncertain, how much do you talk to your assistant coaches? Because obviously they would like to know about their futures. How much do you try to help them through this time?
Yeah, I've talked to them about that kind of stuff, but we're doing the job that we love to do, and it is what it is. Worrying about it's not going to help anything, and so I just go about our business and move on.
We haven't talked about Osa a whole lot, but just the progression you've seen from him, the new scheme, and those kind of. How do you think as we're near the end here? How do you think he's played?
Yeah, I think he's played well. I think he's gotten better each week. It's been nice to have an inside presence that can rush the quarterback, but he's also done a good job in the run game. He's very conscientious as far as playing run blocks and things like that. I think his quickness has showed up. And he keeps working diligently every single day about trying to get better.
Joe?
Joe Hoyt, All City, Dallas. Maris Ufal was rotating a little bit from the edge and then inside a little bit. Just curious from a long-term perspective, where do you kind of view where he is? Do you view him as a versatile piece, or is someone you kind of like to keep inside?
No, I think he'd be a versatile piece, but really I think at some point in time he'll probably be a Mike linebacker. He handles all the calls now. He's been able to do the green dot. He's got physicality. In the pass game, he's been good. He understands where he's supposed to be. He's practiced all the spots now anyway. So, but I think depending on who else is the other two guys or one guy, whatever it is, I think he can slide into either position.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Mike, in the last game against Washington, except for the very end of the game, you had pretty solid success slowing down Jaden Daniels in that offense. How much of that do you think is transferable here at the end of the season?
Well, I think we've been playing better, since that ball, even better and better since that ball game. So I anticipate that we'll continue to play well. I think the second half yesterday was a little bit of an enigma, and I just feel like, there's been a couple games this year that when I watched the game or watched the film the next day, I said, that's how it's supposed to look. This is how it's supposed to look. And so I keep feeling that way each, I don't know, whatever week it was, week 10 or whatever it was, that we started getting back to that spot that I felt like, yeah, this resembles my vision of what it was supposed to be like. So I anticipate that we'll go on and play well.
And quick follow-up, you've talked about maybe saying, if I want to still coach, do you feel like you would like to be back next year if that offer is extended to you? Do you still want to coach into 2025?
Well, I think, number one, someone has to want you. So, it's always a two-way street. So we'll just worry about all that stuff after the season. It's too early, and I know it's late in the season, but it's too early to be talking about future and all those other things. So we'll just keep trying to do the best job we can, and then everybody will sit down and have a conversation, and Jerry will decide what he decides, and the rest of us decide what we have to decide.
Nick Harris, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Whenever you reflect on the season as a whole, what are some things you maybe wish went a little bit smoother, and what are some things you take pride in on how this defense has played despite injuries and things of that sort?
This is last press conference, right? I don't have to do one next
For
year?
you, you're good.
All right.
So next year?
So
Ignore
I
that.
think, so I wish, I'm trying to say this correct way, I wish that when I came in that I would have done everything the way I wanted it done and not kind of try to blend things. And so I think that was part of the struggles at the beginning. And what I'm most proud about is watching the guys, how they've improved. You go out to practice and you see the coverage pieces being in the right place, playing the routes correctly, things like that. And there's still a lot more we could have done better, but I think a lot of it was that. And so we had to work through a whole bunch of different scenarios to get to where I feel like I kind of, like I said, the vision that I had.
And then in that opening presser, whenever you came in and when you were hired, you said that you needed the game of football. How rewarding has it been just being back in it this year?
Yeah, it's been good. Like I can remember the first game when we played Cleveland, went out there in the stadium, I said, oh man, this is pretty cool again, getting out here on the field and, guys coming up to you say, hey, I'm glad you're back, we missed you and all this kind of stuff. But throughout the course of the season, obviously, it was good. And again, I don't want to get real personal here, but I needed it partly for my son,
Coach, Sydney Staples, DG10 Sports, when you think about your coaching career and all the teams that you've been able to be a part of, what is different about this season, the Cowboys, minus the ton of injuries that have happened?
Yeah, well, that would have been the first thing, the injuries. I don't know that this season is different. It's just the injuries were, unbelievable. When you got, I was talking to one of the Philadelphia guys yesterday, and he said you got 14 guys on IR, so many on IR, so many Pro Bowlers and things like that. There's always ups and downs during the season, how you come back from it. We had a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and then we had a 4 game winning streak, and a crazy game against Cincinnati. And then play good the next 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever it was. Just all kinds of runs together. I think, it's the NFL. Everybody can beat anybody at any time, and if you're not on your P's and Q's, and that's what's going to happen. And if you lose a bunch of guys, typically the teams that are healthiest and smartest usually win most games.
Right. Mike Brancham, 105.3 The Fan. You spent a good bit of time with Darren Woodson. What in your mind makes him Hall of Fame worthy?
I think he should have been a long time ago. I've championed him quite a bit with a lot of the reporters and people. Darren was the ultimate pro. He was tough. Mm-hmm. He was physical. He was smart. Some of the things that impressed me about him was, and I used to use him as an example for Harrison Smith a lot of times. I'd say, Darren Woodson to work on his coverage, he'd go out there and play corner on the scout team. But one of the things that really impressed me with Darren was, he was basically an outside linebacker in college and taught himself how to backpedal. His technique was unbelievable as far as backpedaling. He was a terrific blitzer, although I didn't blitz him enough at that time, so that was probably my fault. But as far as understanding the game, being a leader, being a tough, physical player, he's more than deserving. And not saying anything bad about any of the guys that are in, but he's better than a lot of the guys that are in.
Mm-hmm. Time for two more.
Played nickel. I mean, how many safe? You said it wrong again.
How did I say it wrong?
Yeah. Played nickel, played safety. I mean, played linebacker. He does it all. Now, try it.
Time for two more.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Jasmine Day, Dallas Cowboys.
I'm helping your guys. Sorry.
Jasmine Day, Dallas Cowboys media. You said that you wish you would have done things your way instead of trying to blend things. At what point in the season do you think you realized that? And if you could go back in time and advise yourself on that decision, what would you tell yourself?
Just basically what I just said. And I don't know what time it was, when it was during the season, but I was just doing things I was uncomfortable with, and so I had to, just do what I had to do. But what I would have said, I've said it, to some of the coaches, like, you come in, so here was the situation, okay? They were good last year, right? And so I come in, so I don't want to really rock the boat, and I probably wasn't as tough as I typically am. I probably wasn't as hard-headed about things and how I want to do things, I guess the best way to say it. And so I wasn't. And that's what I regret the most.
Mike, you mentioned your son, and just, it's your first NFL job since 2022. Just what was the what you mentioned of why this was important, not just for you, but in his memory as well?
Well, Adam was a terrific kid, is a terrific kid, really smart, loved football. He would have gave his left arm to be here and do this, and so I know that he's upstairs looking down and cheering every Sunday. Sorry.
Man, that's real there, bro. That's real. And that's the other side that being Joe the fan, watching on Sunday and pissed off at the players and talking about how much they suck and everything else, and not understanding the pain that they go through physically, emotionally, and mentally to do this thing. There's no guarantee with football in any shape or form. There's no guarantee that, you're going to be on a roster from one week to the next for most guys, as well as the coaches. And it's a tough business. And if the Cowboys, I'm going to say, if they F around and they're going to find out, man, that they've lost another good one. It's kind of crazy that two guys that the Cowboys look to blame or, don't have here are going to be facing each other in the playoffs in Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, while we sit around here with the same old bullshit. To be clear, when I watched the Detroit Lions last night, it's like, wow. They playing 3D chess, man. And we playing tiddlywinks right now. Our franchise is so far behind because of Jerry and Stephen Jones. It ain't even funny, man. It ain't even funny. I hope Mike Zimmer finds the peace that he deserves, man. And it's sad that no parent should ever have to bury their child. And I salute that man. And I will catch y'all later if I don't see you. Have a good New Year.